Hi guys, so I just wanted to give you a brief recap of what we talked about last week in science and put this up for anyone who didn't see it because it's really going to be helpful for your activity this week, okay? So to recap, we talked about how when objects are trying to balance, if they have too much weight in one area, chances are that is going to interfere with the balancing, like my little Peppa Pig here, or my daughter's Peppa Pig. When I try to make Peppa stand on her feet, she's not very well balanced. She can kind of stand there for a half a second, but not for long. And we discussed how that's because her head is so big and her nose is pointing out so far ahead of her body, and she has these little teeny tiny feet, okay? So what we can do is we can actually add extra weight, or in science, what we call counterweight, to her arms. And that counterweight helps her be able to stand up. Because her head was too big, okay, we have to add weight in the opposite area. And for Peppa, that opposite area is down below my fingers. So when we have equal weight above where your balancing point is and below, then your object should be balanced. So my fingers, anytime I have an object balanced on my finger or your finger, that's called your balancing point, okay? So Peppa balances because I added counterweight or extra weight to the area that needed it, okay? If I have a shape like this and I try to balance it on my finger, it balances without extra weight. That's because this object, this arch or rainbow or smiley face or half circle, this has about the same amount of material above the balancing point as below, okay? So this one is equal on its own. But if I flip it this way and I try to balance, no dice, right? Way too heavy on the top, nothing down below. But if I take my clothespins and I add extra weight to the bottom, suddenly it works because I have the equal amount of weight on the top and on the bottom. These are called our counterweights. Now, if I have my object and it's balanced, and also I can kind of shake my hand back and forth, in science we call this stable. So as we are doing our balancing activities, we want something to be stable. That means that it won't fall over easily. There might be some ways that you discover that you can balance these shapes that I've sent you, but they only stay for like a second or 2 seconds. That doesn't count. Okay, we're not looking for that crazy, like, whoa type of balance. We're looking for stable balance like this. Okay, and that's because of our counterweights. All right, that is a good review of the things that we talked about last week, and that will get you started for our assignment for this week. Okay, this week for our assignment, we are going to do pages 1 and 2 in your notebook. Okay, so that's the first 2 pages, crayfish balance and crayfish balance checking for understanding. Right? This is going to be fun. So we're going to take our crayfish that hopefully you found in your science folder, and we're going to see how many different ways we can balance our crayfish. Now, those of you that were in the Zoom last week will remember I showed you that I could balance it on my finger pretty easily without any extra counterweights. Okay? Besides this, I'm wondering if you can balance it perhaps on its nose, if you can balance it perhaps in its little armpit, give it a tickle, or if you can even balance it on its tail, and you're going to need your counterweights to do that, okay? So I want you to see if you can figure out where to attach your counterweights on your crayfish to get it to balance in those 3 places. Now, when it's balanced, you'll know that it's stable because it doesn't fall over. Okay, that's what we're looking for. So once you've figured out where your clothespins need to go, then you can do page 1. Page 1 says, draw your crayfish in a stable position. Okay, so Here, you can draw as many stable positions for your crayfish that you came up with. If you only found one, that's totally fine. Just do one. That's completely fine. But if you found 2 or 3, draw those, okay? Next, let's see if we can answer these 2 questions. What does stable mean? And was this a tricky challenge? And for this one, I'm sure you know, I'm not just looking for yes or no. I'm looking for yes because or no because, okay? And then for page 2, let's see if we can fill in the blanks for each of these questions. Something is when it stays on its own without being Now let's go back to Peppa Pig. Peppa Pig couldn't balance on my hand without being held there, okay? This is not balanced because I'm holding her. Something's balanced when it can stand on its own without being held, okay? So my Peppa Pig, remember, needed extra counterweights down below in order to balance. And now I'm not holding her, okay? Now she's not being held, and that's important. Then the next one says the clothespins act as, remember, it's a fancy word that means opposite weights. That word is counterweight, counterweight, okay? So we want to fill in the word counterweight for the second one. Now let's see if we can do this one. Counterweights add extra weight to the side that is too, okay? In our arch, when it was standing up, we said that this part was heavy. And this part down below the balancing point, it's too light, right? There's not enough weight there. So I need to add counterweights to the side that is too light. And that makes it heavier, which makes it balanced. And then finally, we have a fun challenge at the bottom. If you had a cutout of a car, where would the clothespins go to make the car look like it was driving? So for an idea, let's say that I gave you a cutout of a car instead of a crayfish. Where would we have to put the counterweights to make it look like it was driving? Like if you were going to hold the car on your finger, would you put extra weight on the roof? Would you put extra weight on the tires? Would you put extra weight on the antenna? Or would you put extra weight on the bumper sticking out? I don't know about that one. So where would you want to put that weight if you had the cutout of the car? This is our activity for this week. So I hope you enjoyed doing these 2 things. And we have some more balancing activities coming at us for next week. All right, you guys, enjoy, have fun. Send me a picture, just do these 2 pages, and then you can just take one picture of both of them. You can email this to me or post them in Seesaw. I'm not sure if you guys will be using Seesaw by next week. If you're not, totally fine. Just email those to me. That will be great. All right, thanks you guys. Good luck. Have so much fun. Okay, bye-bye.